disengage for a second to then dash back and...
Charged up so fast by that Rage of Ultron. It's going to be a use of the Dance of the Butterflies, answered there by Nash with the Invisible Boundary. Beach just been so evasive over here. Psycho just can't land a shot, unfortunately. And it is
clones from Loki, but he's trying to find a strategist on their own.
Great dodge away here. Sexy Kitty able to try and chase down Clover, now looks towards the back. Isidore can't stand up to the damage either. And once more, Zabs are scuppered by a well-timed strategy stop coming through from Crazy Kitty.
Now that back and forth that we saw in the first two maps is really started to come together now. The 2 minutes for all business to get things moving again, but look how far they've been pushed back, pretty much right back to that first point with how much space Tuzi's been able to set up. It's so good to see the movement of these two teams, just end-to-end stuff on a map that it looked like we were just going to see fighting and stalling out on that final checkpoint.
Damage was to Tuzi. Something to the hole is definitely very dangerous, but you constantly worry about Master Chico here with that Dance for Butterflies. Maybe in a 1v1 it could be dangerous to try and deal with. Damon up close and personal. Tuzi does not want to stick around to try and out DPS the Rage of Ultron. And it's peeling on top of that as well with the Meteor M ready to go. Seems like there was a Magneto bubble to try and allay some of the incoming danger. Tuzi is going to be deterred from moving forward by Master Chico. Come on, up to the end, and force the field of fear. Times of fear. The Psylocke ultimate. Once again, he's forcing the issues forward. Follow range. And Tuzi's on the chase.
You sort of mentioned going into this match. It doesn't feel like one will be sitting on this lengthy match, I suppose. Like, this has been an aggressive spot for but how quickly they can do pretty much back towards the spawn doors as and when needed. Autoplay, they've been pretty much sticking to their guns and the odds of Chauncey is there, disengaging, and going for the swipe to win this one. Win for Chauncey.
stay strong on second.
Really holding on. I'd love to see, if at all, we could just see the scoreboard with the tab to just see how much damage has been output in the end from 2Z, because most of the time it has almost exclusively just been him over on that duelist full stop. But his damage output and just the final blows have been pretty much the observers just sit on 2Z and then you don't need to watch much else because it is a show reel in itself. It's been superb stuff, and Zabs, I think some of the fights that they've been taking have been well positioned. It's just they don't get room to breathe with how quickly Choppity are moving in on their opponents.
I mean, to take us back to what you were saying after Hell's Heaven, there's a reason that the 2Z POV is so good, because often 2Z is the hallmark of engagement for Choppity as this solo duelist. When 2Z makes the move is when Choppity tend to explode onto a member of Zabs, and usually that's either Damon or Closer.
It's always hard with teams as well. Like coaching in other games, you have like really strong duelist players, you know, the poster boys of the team, right? The shirt name that you want on the back of your shirt and stuff for various sports. It's sometimes hard for them to get the follow-up that they need from the rest of the team because what they want is different to what the team is ultimately trying to achieve. My point overall is that for Choppity, that has never seemed to be an issue. It doesn't feel like 2Z is trying to do one thing and everybody else is doing another. They're so on the same page. It's concerning how good they are, despite the fact that they're a relatively newish team with the roster moves they've made.
Beatles having a bit of a scout here. Found their victims. They want to get right on top of this Mantis. A great response from Magneto with a quick double. Beatles going around black with a damage boost. And that's going to mean that Dark Maelstrom is going to do so much damage to a grouped up team. Can't quite build up the dark energy in time though, so instead it's going to settle for position.
Making sure they get some really nice shooting over the tower. Just before possibly plays the split apart and not perfectly escape with the light. Absolutely beating low HP, holding out a lot and both are actually going to be the big company out of VRP. That triple strategy is starting to fall into that defense. Players that are out of position, Master Chief being one of them, wanting to try and contest, but against it, and so he wasn't going to be. But man, you saw how quickly Tuesday just turned out to make sure that Master Chief can't get anything done. And Jerky has been really quiet because Tuesday's had it in his back pocket the entire time on the second time. Captain America here. Heading in towards the back line, utilizes the momentum to get good travel on the dance of the butterflies. That's going to be Mash falling on down to Mantis fall or Manti fall in quick succession. And 2Z's isolated and taken down. Zabs given a chance to just keep a hold on things for the time being, but less than 4 minutes left. And you know, it's not even right up towards the end of the second checkpoint. There's a good amount of space in between it because of how well Choppity were able to fight for the space. Zabs need to do the same, but that Rage of Ultron is going to be the thing that comes through. Meteor M, I think, just thrown into this, create some space, but not enough, I think. Zabs still under a brunt of offensive power.
Oh, Meteor M for DRP, just a little bit better. You can see the isolation there with the Mantis, 2-1% around.
Like Zabs, the hearing the Rage of Ultron from Crazy, you can see just get out with Meteor M, it wasn't able to get much, and it just provides so much space for DRP to get a little bit more value with his. And now this is a tricky fight and engagement to go for. You've got Captain America wanting to try and put some power in, and the Raider start coming in from one direction. Forces them back to the still.
Already used to it now, following in after Captain America. 560 here by the way for the Psylocke. And now you can see reverse regeneration domains already used. It's time for the dance of the butterfly. It's instantly cancelled though. Tuzi realizing that the big stack up is going to mean that the damage is quite as substantial. Still finds two players isolated, picks them apart with a sonic crossbow, and only after Oni is staying here as Sai managed to find her quarry on the streets of Clintar. And for Choppity, that's going to be a 3-1 in their favor.
2, 1.
I think a win for them towards the upper bracket for Choppity was expected. Again, like they had a really good result in a third-party tournament earlier this week. Okay, yeah, seems to be maybe then grand final tomorrow. I think it's all basically this out. Whichever day we're able to go for when it's on the tonight, hopefully it's late today, tomorrow, potentially. They're down to the losers bracket. It really is just a case of there's a lot of solid stuff there. I just think Dave with some of the regeneration probably right at the end there. Tuzi was just threatening, forces out the low-key big ultimate that could essentially be a big ability that could be an ultimate essentially. It means that you can lay around it and also some of the big hits and then go into the collapse. Without like the stone, idle aura, and you also do it without pretty much basic drops like protocol and Ultron. That's probably about it, but that's all the Tuzi needs. Like he must be feeling pretty good about the move that either he made, whether he left or whether he was kicked. It doesn't really matter too much. He seems to have found a team that's able to play off of him. But we still have some more action going in as we get towards the latter end rounds of the Marvel Rivals Championship here for Season 3. Gonna go for a break before we get into the next set of games, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few.
Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the on those memories, and yes, across all time I see you turning the tides. And do you see now our time, our turn? We can still fight like the wind and fire. And wonder no more that now is the only time your heart is mine. Light has fallen, darkness grows, and yes, we fight for our destiny. And today's smiling for the past and future. Break the chains, lead the way, fight with me. And when you wake up, open your eyes, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls before the risk returns again. We are rebels till the end. Rise up, open your mind, hold on to your powers now. Hello. Greetings. You cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will rule.
The doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. Disappearing. You are under my spell.
We are done chasing spiders. Bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom.
Remember old Eddie? So round 13 harkens, Ryan, as we head down into a lower bracket to catch up with Alcadzia after they were vanquished by Virtus.pro. They're going to be meeting FaZe, who haven't actually had to play that many games so far in MRC, as they've been met with multiple teams just forfeiting in their wake.
Yeah, including their first game of today as well. So they're not going to be maybe as warmed up as Alcadzia, who I definitely probably wanted to go into this after losing to Virtus.pro to just keep that momentum going. They don't want to cool down. The fact that they've had such a tough game means that they should go into this one feeling a little bit more fresh, I suppose. But they also don't want to be on this Grim Reaper list, I suppose, that FaZe has been able to get, despite the fact that they're actually doing the final death themselves. moments, a lot to work on. Now they want to make sure that they can go for as deep in the pocket as they can get some of these open doing as well. So you have Leolis and Crisis playing off of each other, Binary like being able to go into the front line with Rosa, so we get to see a little bit more of them, and then Pig Clone as well with Oasis, which again, it feels like there's these players that we've seen individual bright moments from, but the synergies between the strategists, the vanguards and stuff, it's going to be one to keep an eye on. I think the other side of it as well is just Ballas, right? He seems to be the key for Alcancia coming in instead of Helis that's really cemented this squad to be a potential big dog for Ignite coming up.
All right, Mantis Band's going to come first here from Alcancia. They do prefer a more classic backline approach. That much is for certain. They like having a Lindstrom and Maluki on maybe a local. Instantly by getting rid of that.
Seems to be the way forward. Luna's going to be protected. You could have the option for picking something safe for your vanguards, so it's going to be Emma Frost. I'd imagine that Torch would be next on the docket here for either team.
Wolverine taken off the table at the same time as protecting Luna Snow is interesting for Alcancia. Is this going to allow for Kai to have an easy pivot onto the group? But I think that Rosa is also very comfortable playing the group. For FaZe, how do they want to try and shape this now is the question. We can see Crisis hovering the Lord Phoenix for now, and it would be unsurprising to see the Phoenix come on through. A little bit toxic there from Crisis to ban Binary's hover. But it is what it is. Sometimes your captain just needs to go.
Yeah. So again, like this is the first that we've got the draft of that top team. Also the fact that it's Central Park got from thinking kind of had it. Like, almost playing chicken, like who's actually going to get rid of it? It seems like they're trying to do very because of their taking out and leaving the table and some general interaction with that. Particularly Emma Frost forced to deal with each other by both having both of them is same with Luna and Loki. So I don't think you can not see the team coming right. Psylocke. Now the Captain America is going to be two vanguards on that side, and a weird mix, I suppose, of all of the different roles actually within this draft.
Seems like we really have a divide in our teams, Ryan, as to whether they approve of the cloak and dagger or not. FaZe and Alcatia definitely fall on the approved side with both Crisis, Healbot, and Maluki picking up the cloak and dagger here.
Yeah, we've sort of let a lot of the different names fly as they've been changed up, but like Crisis Healbot is pin clone, and this fight is over before I've even finished the sentence. That was brutal.
Segment, but it's gone.
Black and blue is the colour, yeah.
Yeah, black and blue certainly is the colour chosen here. There is someone in the back who can make this, I believe that's last second recontest. Leolas is going to have a reasonable angle here to try and put out some damage, and moving it on to the other cross. It's quite the epic pickup onto Milk Boy. Tilt still has their own line of sight to try and leverage. Rosa around the outside. Got to be careful not getting too close. You've seen what a Phoenix can do with those animation cancels. Rosa forced to scurry away. That's a big terror cape. 5 players hit with the vulnerable. But bringing up the full lap forward. Plenty of healing coming on through. Soulborn coming on forward from Ballas, emboldening the remainder of the team to get aggressive. Binary's going to find themselves isolated during their own ultimate, and just carved down by the Lumberjacks. One player gets isolated by the 4th. That's a quick take from Alcatia.
That was insane from Alcatia, and there's so much to it as well. Like we were sort of saying, like with the draft, okay, it's very clear what Alcatia are going to run. I didn't expect Ballas to just be sending it forwards on the Adam Warlock, and just clearly something went wrong for FaZe to just lose out the 2 players that quickly. But they could not have been expecting what Alcatia was about to do. And just the position from Alcatia as well. I like the teams now. They'll be trying to take the point. There's that re-engage with the portal. They're confident enough to get off the completely and fight in other different areas. The way that this team is taking these positions tight is really good. They're almost like setting a trend on this. They might actually have an answer on what to do in these engagements, because it's been nothing but Alcatia storming forwards.
Oh, it's just so much damage. They didn't even need a secondary ult to try and follow up onto the Groot strangling prison. Oh, man, Alcatia are just unstoppable right now. An absolute lawnmower.
This is like Harlem Globetrotters, really. But it's like, one of the things that was said from Alcatia is just that they're well drilled, the coaches come up with a lot of stuff, and I feel like that is very present here in motion. Because Alcatia have basically just been playing to that hymn sheet, and everybody's on the same page. It's looking like the second point is almost about to be taken. Oh my god, it's brutal.
Oh, that's disgusting. Another prison coming out, and finally the follow-up is going to be there. But guess what? It's res time, baby. Even more comes on through. Leolas still have that ult popped up in the top there, so there was some damage done. They need to reconsolidate their health bars before once again re-engaging into the back. Ballas falls on down. Leolas has the angle. Kaya going to be taken from the side. Leolas gets firstly sprained by the carbon crush, but it seems like a follow-up's not going to be there. And
big fight off the back of Rose's Entangling Prison. And honestly, like, they're the player that I'm excited to watch. All that much from Ignite. Maybe we saw them briefly, intermittently in like previous but here, like, a big ultimate to actually make sure that this wasn't going to be a Now these are the areas that I think they struggled with against Virtus Pro, right? Where they have to reset and do something a bit more on the fly instead of something that's more coordinated. But it's a good chance to get your reps in.
To be leveraged. Sentient seized here by Binary. To overextend their welcome Sonic Seduction. Now going to be splitting up most of the team. He's been isolated. And Milkboy can't stand up to the damage. Now down on one Vanguard, relying on Kaya to try and hold all of this. I think Binary may have actually just blocked Kaya's ultimate using their diamond form while being CC immune. Unbelievable value there for a single shift click. And while everyone got survivability off the back of strategist ultimates, this is a huge playmaking potential for Alcatia. It's gone down the drain.
This is a really good, like, counter-attacking. Crisis is just about to make mincemeat of Tilt. Able to get that timing pretty much perfect, and that is one thing that has been clearly evident from all of the games so far, of just upping the ante as soon as you smell a chance. A bit more biased on the defense. FaZe have been good for it, but there's still a lot for Alcatia to use when it comes to ultimates, and still 2 minutes left.
Man, now they are just shoveling Alcatia back in a swarm. This is such a change in momentum from how quickly Alcatia took first. And Kaya is at least playing some disruption in the back on the Venom, forcing him back to point.
Wonder how much the high ground is going to be used there, because that's one thing that FaZe haven't done, is just this more sitting pretty, bunkering themselves in potentially. So I could see they can start moving up a bit by bit, like piece by piece. They could find themselves in a nice checkmate. Tank with Prison going to be used, but it's the dive of the backline with the ultimate from Phoenix and the Dance to Butterflies catching out Oasis.
Oh, fully combined Crisis, but what target focus there coming through. Even Maluki on the cloak was getting the Dark Force damage in, and while there is going to be a last second pick onto Lindstrom here, which could be fatal heading in towards a final fight on third. What great target focus from Alcadzia. I hear a portal.
They're expecting it. They're just trying to work out exactly where it's going to come from. Tilt getting up onto the high ground. It's an uncontested position. Might be able to just poke on through. Not really that contested though with your backline. It's just going to be dove on from the other side. These Phoenixes finding a lot of value, but Layerless is pretty much bodies on the point to make sure that this objective can't travel any further. 30 seconds left for Alcadzia. Quickly, might have put them more in a predicament and made this look a little bit with like some of the decisions and like the clear coordination of some of these plays, it really shows you how much work this team is doing. Just kind of got to play the Phoenix ultimate, and they also use the Dance of the Butterflies at the same time to just clear out the strategists in the backline. It's so hard to follow through with like that flow chart of if they do this then I do that, especially when it's that quick from Kadzia.
Yeah, that's so well drilled. And part of me, Ryan, always like has a little inkling, a little bit of bias where I kind of root for teams that stick together, you know, who try to tough it out and like work through whatever issues or weaknesses they have and just iterate and get better rather than go for the full reform. So I'm very happy to see Alcadzia being rewarded for their dedication to each other as a team.
Yeah, and the org supporting the coaches, the managers that wanted that decision. No, we need to go everything, start again, see if we can get them cheaper. It really does feel like there was so much positive stuff said about Alcadzia in Ignite, despite the fact that they've been everything's coming together when you've got players like Lindstrom that was on Virtus Pro for the longest time. It feels like he brings some of that cohesion and team mentality to the squad as well.
Yeah, that's great isolation over there off the Rose. They can use some more. Very intelligent player who's a well-suited for him, that Milkwood for sure. And as Milkwood continues to control the bottom, it's going to be Kai who plays the primary entrance way here. And once again, we've seen another pivot over onto a Punisher, this time from Crisis. A well-known Punisher player, Rose again, once again, going to be the primary target. It seems every time these engagements happen, it's all about shutting down that Groot.
It really did feel like if I think of Crisis, I think of the Punisher, I think of the Winter Soldier, but it was mostly just how they got the most out of that Final Judgment meta back in Ignite a couple of months ago. Tilt is very close to having another end song. And he is pretty uncontested, it feels like, because of this Punisher pivot. Means that high ground pressure is a little bit lacking almost on the side of FaZe.
That's sniping down. Oh, that's a massive right click, and Ballast made to pay for it. Does still have the self-resurrection. Lindstrom is going to be given a moment to prove there by the only wall being erected in the way of the incoming damage. Oh, Groot just wants to pile on top. FaZe using everything here to try and clear here and now. Ballast won't have a chance to resurrect anybody. The current revival was 10% away, and Melissa fire. From the board, they definitely have staying power, maybe
how perfectly timed it was because Ballast just got it online. And Alcazia available right at the was just either too early or ended up using it when they could have saved it. The FaZe stop it. Whether it's catch balance or you have to find I played it a little bit old in Ignite, but didn't really get much of a chance to see Crisis does find a great opening with the Road Boys with the Vanguard because jump on top, there's enough heal there, but then able to both the Vanguard together. This is a split looking Alcazia. Worked so well for Crisis before. When they look so like well drilled on these more offensive moves, defense has been a lot of ultimates that have felt fully timed, fully coordinated. Disengages cluelessly into the dance, and the Butterflies did not see that one coming despite all of FaZe's momentum. They couldn't convert. That was genius from Ballast. It's just a tiger apex predator style, pulling the mother away from the cubs and then just sweeping up the supports like it's nobody's business. And it just stops that forward momentum that FaZe were looking to build. Alcazia just find enough space, and it's still going for Ballast. He's the golden boy, isn't he? He's finding so much for them.
Yeah, I mean, Kai actually, I think, found no one with a strangling prism, but it's okay because they still managed to isolate.
No 2 minutes. And maybe, like, all we need is maybe one good fight, especially with how being just falling into stress levels and being looking on the quad there. They're trying to stack up as many of these ultimates as they possibly can, but the offensive side of Alcatia is just going to clean sweep up everybody again. Sure, ultimates are used, but you have to force back phase even further beyond the point and where the payload is.
These tiny rooms are brutal for squishies. 2 strategists just crushed into the wall, made part of the masonry by a spinning kick.
And because you have these like tight chokes as well, it means that any attempt to go like Final Judgment your way through can easily be walled off, or Milk Boy can just be set up ready to sort of shield and protect. And Balas is just ready to sneak in behind, and he has his ultimate.
He's good. Trying to share out the damage here. Crisis has been hit with a terror kick, so it'll be a damage. The cart as well. Kaya isolated and taken down by Binary. Oh, this decision has been made by Alcatia to make play the objective.
That kind of happened. Started to push the buttons. Turtle Bond is going to allow this fight to go a little bit deeper. The response it's not really able to stop the big ultimate from the strategist. Finding so much space, but Alcatia, the whole plan was to get those ultimates out and have one final fight, less than a minute.
Time to hold at the top of the quite the danger zone in front of Crisis, so they're going to skip the stairs entirely and just portal back already. Maybe a touch premature, they couldn't come back in time, I reckon. And Kai's going to be isolated. Yep, is easily gunned on down by the Punisher too. The Phoenix doesn't stand a chance against the raw damage being delivered by Frank Castle. And now it's going to be Leolas's turn to try and finish this one. Balas never had a chance to start dancing. Oh, you can definitely stop the dance, you can stop the rhythm, you can stop the groove, but you can't stop FaZe as they roll on forward. Kaio's going to engage, but up against the combined might of FaZe is little but a speck of dust on the bottom of Quintar. Celestial Husk is nowhere near as we're on Central Park, which is claimed by FaZe.
I mean, that's a hell of a performance from them. And the way that I was thinking about it, right, is like if Alcatia win now, you kind of go, it was close, but Alcatia win it by how quickly they took that first point, right? But because it's the other way around, it doesn't feel like there was a particular moment where FaZe had full control. There's no like attacking side or defensive side where they made a really good first point, held on it. It was just like consistent. It did just maybe feel like Alcatia on that defense, certainly the first point and definitely towards the second, something wasn't quite gelling. And it's noticeable when you look at how good they were with some of the more offensive capabilities when they were using big ultimates when people were down. It clearly shows, especially at this level.
I would like to issue an official apology to Leolas. I didn't recognize your game. Damn! 20 final hits, 30k damage, 48 and 8 at the end as well. Oasis also getting the MVP on the Luna. Let's check out the highlights to remember how this all went down. An incredibly close back and forth game, but in the end it felt like the crisis management, ironically, from FaZe was a little bit better.
Yeah, the pivot was nice. It's just like these fights like you're seeing on screen, this position, right? It's like 3 people might go down and then an Eternal Bond comes through. And some of those instances were just unlucky, I suppose, from Alcatia, right? Like the likes of filtering down and maybe some of the fights. I want to play around the down and have them just put your losses. But no, he was going, Alicia was going with a big ultimate, and you're like, that would be really nice for this next fight, because the pace that
going incredibly fast. Like, I had my worries on first when we saw Rosa get first pick twice, and it seemed like Alcatia get focused and pick down real quickly. But I think they augmented how they were Rosa later on, where they baited out Milk Boy's like lunge forward for the carbon, but they they managed to dodge that, so they didn't get CC'd, could have been kicked back into Alcazia, and then they were in the diamond form and just got absolutely mown down by the combined hit scan DPS of FaZe. Let's see if Alcazia can find a counter punch against what they've been delivered here. We're going to be back with lap number 2 after this break.
Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends, and I had some take you out. Reunion, break find your way, come find me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Open your eyes, raising up your fist and smashing through time walls. Before the rift winters again, we are rivals till the end. Rise and open your minds, hold on to your powers. No one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of time. We will clash, no matter where. We will fight, racing across time and space. 'Cause you are my destiny to the end.
Hello. Greetings. You cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. You are under my spell. Pure chaos!
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom.
The other guy's been doing a lot of talking for me. You remember old Eddie?
FaZe up 1-0 in the series at the moment against Alcadzia as we head over at... they are going to Celestial Husk. See, I just had premonitions in my brain when I miscalled at the end of the previous map. We go to Celestial Husk. Can Alcadzia find a way in the ban phase to craft a more preferable occasion? Still gotten the better of them tempo-wise.
Yeah, I mean, they also picked, what, 2 domination maps up against Virtus Pro, which might have been, again, it feels like they can sort of step up some of those fights, and at the very least, it's good practice. Because this FaZe team, it feels like, what's the saying, like it's greater than the sum of its parts? That seems to be this team. Like, all of these players we know are, like, good, but would you sort of put them in a top 10 list of players in Europe? Maybe not. Maybe some of them wouldn't even be like top 20, top 30. But the way that they're synergizing so far on this team of FaZe has been really good to watch. It's been a massive glow up for them. Alcadzia, I'm not going to say that there's no excuse that they should be losing a game like this, but you're clearly wanting to try and do something here by bringing us to the brand new map that we're seeing in play, which I haven't had the chance to cast yet, so I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, Celestial Husk, I think the most prescient fact about this map is that all of the domination points have a big slab of cover in the middle, which makes it incredibly hospitable both for flyers and for stalling in general. So very hard to flip the point. It's going to be incredibly important in every single one of these domination points to win the first fight, which Alcadzia was actually doing quite frequently against Virtus Pro. So I'd expect them to be able to do the same here.
But the pick bans as well, looking at this. So Alcadzia last time, they banned out Mantis, which they've done here. They protected Emma, which they haven't done. They've gone for Cap. And then they banned out Wolverine, which they've gone to ban out Groot this time. So I think both teams looking to change things up a little bit. And in fact, actually, for FaZe, it's exactly the same. It seems to be the way to go, right? Of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the team that is able to keep somewhat consistent pick ban phase throughout all the maps tends to have the advantage because there's a win condition they're trying to play no matter the map.
All right, Groot's off the board as well, and once again, Ballas is going to have their Psylocke protected. It seems like it's going to be Alcadzia with exactly the same here. Maybe they think that the change is not to be made in the draft, but instead to be made in a more of an augmentation of playstyle, comms, or perhaps target priority, where it seemed like Rosa was absorbing a lot of the aggro from FaZe last time. Maybe instead we see a bit more focus on getting rid of Binary, or maybe someone hunting down Crisis on the angle.
Strange banned out just to avoid some of those like portal play, sustained fights. So it is like a big difference, I suppose, to switch around. Wolverine is in play, but because he banned out the Groot, it might not even really be too much of a factor. But yeah, both teams looking to try and pivot hard.
A pivot, but will it be successful? Celestial Husk awaits us, so let's see what's coming on Clintar.
To come in from, and I would have said that like farming up that invisible boundary as quick as possible just off of the bodies on your team, but everybody's
movements as well. Putting there this constant healing pressure as well as damage. Managed area of effects from Dance of the Butterflies. Tilt finds Binary, Layer lances down as well, and Crisis is going to have to go up against 2 Vanguards, but do they have mechanics to get through all of this meat? The answer's no, as the Carbon Crush breaks their neck against the soft dirt of Clintar.
That final fight was just a battle royale. It was a bloodbath, really. 2 teams that have looked so coordinated on fairly recent maps of like Central Park and stuff that we've seen, even in previous games. Towards the end, it did feel like it was a little bit of a death match, so to speak, just with how things are split. But FaZe trying to sort of bring things back in the end. It just felt that I could see, even if they were a couple of numbers down, they just are able to find lovely picks, and Ballas has just been pivotal to find some of those openings. And Kaya has looked really good on the Captain America too. When that duo is in play, it's hard, I think, for FaZe to deal with.
Life alone in the cosmos can have quite an effect.
I ain't gonna lie, if I'm Pinkland, we're having words later with Oasis. We're gonna have a friendly chat. You, me, and this baseball bat.
The battle starts in 5, 4,
Really wonder what the position is going to be like for these next fights on this point.
Capture the mission area.
And I wonder as well, because it is a choice too, what kind of teams are going to be bringing this out in the future, whether it's for tomorrow's games or certainly like Ignite and beyond, right? Just making sure that you're like competent on the newest map is so important, and it could catch teams out if they're not careful.
All right, Higher demanding attention, and Rose is more than happy to give it. Carbon Crush into spinning kick. At the same time, we see here for Crisis, who doesn't have the vault to try and stay through it. Yeah, there's still Binary here in the back, but without the Psylocke, the frag potential is so much lower. Lindstrom is going to be next to that Guardian Shield as well. You can see that was just an absolute monster in the back, moving through a little kaiju, a little Oni, and he delivers.
Harbinger of destruction, I would say too. But just enabling his team, like if you can get in a position where you're diving on the backline with your Captain America, your Psylocke, and then you have a Jeff just being able to heal through both of them, and also output a good amount of damage himself. It feels like FaZe are just getting stuck into fights that they don't really want to take, and now they're trying to posture a little bit more, still yet without ultimates to re-engage properly. They might not even be given that luxury. Alphard's here looking to retake this space back against them.
Oh, Crisis notes the approach of the opposing Psylocke. Can't quite shut them down fully, but at least get a little bit of a Hulk here as Binary swaps over onto the Hulk. When we were talking before the match, this is what I was really excited for. I think Binary is a fantastic Hulk player, dropping down now. There's going to be plenty of options here to pancake, so I don't think there's going to be too much gained by Crisis. We'll stick everyone in the back though, so the healing can't be delivered elsewhere. Milkboy's going to be there to deliver a punish for the dance that was well received. Moving forward now, it's a miss on the Carbon Crush from Rosa. Might not be able to isolate Maluka so she can get back inside of the ultimate. And on the other side, Milkboy's going to be trying to slow this one down real quick as Binary is quickly turned around and sent towards the opposing Vanguard. Now Captain now have all the staying power they need with the Fate of both roles deployed.
More of a case now, like he's still struggling to put back now. Now has a little bit more leeway. Binary's able to take some of the heat. Like the Robot Hulk is going to come through to just keep himself alive more than anything. But as he's trying to pull things away, the backline is exposed just enough for Ballas to clean up house. And just as FaZe were able to take the point despite a good fight and a good number of eliminations, it's straight back into the hands of Alcatia.
Yeah, 10% is all you get. And while Binary is a great Hulk, one of the things that needs to be borne in mind here is that with tilt on the field on the Jeff, his joyful slash right click actually resets Hulk's jump charge every time it hits him because he's got a slight knockback, which can make the disengagement for Binary so much more difficult.
Alcatia making this maybe a potential fast bounce back on this map. 99%, it's all to do for FaZe to clean up house, and you've already lost one of the backlines. It's all just dipping in and out for FaZe. They had such a bright first map, but it seems to be ended this one on a whimper, not able to contest. Yeah, this was one that you definitely want to get away from FaZe.
Okay, Binary had a little bit of a brain fart there, I guess. All thought there was another Vanguard who was going to take care of it, but just distracted in the back by Kaya marauding on the Captain America. What a clapback here from Alcatia. Well, this is a team that certainly is an absolute nightmare on domination, and Kaya aura farms onto the Captain America.
It's, I mean, a statement, I think, for Kaya to be making. Just a player that really want to see more. We want to see more out of Alcatia full stop in Ignite. I think that's just the general thing that really needs iterating, is just that this was a team that was really picked up by people that sort of were involved in the scene, podcasts and various stuff. But it was still maybe early days. Now, I don't think they really have that excuse, and it's really starting to blossom here. But is this a case of like, okay, we get to see Alcatia on the latest map, they have draft. How much of that was just this FaZe team not having as much of a plan on this map, and sort of just balls to the wall, because they looked incredibly disjointed?
Yeah, this might be from having like a more mixed roster. As you said, this is like the newest map in the competitive pool, so might not have as much practice on it, whereas there's been a little bit more time with Alcatia together to be able to like really focus in their scrim time onto the map they don't know quite as well. So I think that this was also a map where you really can have things decided by your Psylocke play, whereas it felt like Crisis was doing so much on Central Park. Here, Ballas definitely felt in control all the time, and the synergy between Ballas and Kaya, as well as Tilt coming in on that Jeff as well, that three-person flank squad definitely paid huge dividends here for Alcatia.
And you can't let Alcatia set up. Like, they know where they need to put their players into position, and if they can find these checkmates, it doesn't matter how good you are individually or as a team for FaZe, you can't fight up against that coordination. But there's still a chance. We'll be heading actually to a nearby area over on Clintar, but we're going to go for a quick break before we get over to Symbiotic Service, so we'll see you very, very soon. Don't go anywhere.
Across the
Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. A disappearing act. You are under my spell. Pure chaos!
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom!
The other guy's been doing a lot of talking for me. You remember old Eddie?
Probably in the same way that they did over on Central Park, just finding the right kind of pivot and causing enough chaos that Alcatia can't rely on some of the well-practiced stuff. The fact that there was, I don't even think there was that many like coordinated set plays from Alcatia. It felt like on Celestial Husk, right? It felt that it was very free-flowing, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that they looked that synergistic, right? But now going over to Symbiotic Surface, we saw a lot of good stuff from other teams earlier of just the bouncing back and forwards on that second point. For FaZe, I think they're attacking first. It's whether they can force out some of those like poor ultimates that we saw in Central Park from Alcatia. And Alcatia, it's whether you can have such a blistering start like you did on your attack when you get around to it.
Yeah, Alcatia, they definitely seem to be a team that... They were constantly the ones who were eliciting by having
And it happens to be the best of teams that they sort of get some of these rough ultimates off, but I think it's just about how much it happened in such a short space of time for Alcatia. Like, if I'm picking up on it, like, I sort of know stuff, but I'm overall an idiot. But if I'm noticing it like 3 or 4 times in a given moment, it's going to be noticeable for other pro players that are watching this going, yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief, you know?
Yeah, like, if you and I can say I don't know about that one, then you know that they know that, oh, this is probably not the best ult that I've ever done. It's going to be a ban on the Emma this time around from FaZe, which might allow for a little bit more space for some counter-punching on these dives. It might allow for Binary to play out there. Constant threat of that carbon crush shutting you down.
I think the torch actually being in play for one. We actually do see it protected pretty early. I think the Ultron is kind of a smart one as well, because it still falls into Alcatia going, you're not playing triple strategist, at least not with the main ones that are subtle. But also knowing, okay, those still available, you don't want to let that clock just be set in the sky. Either with the protocol and Ultron, that just healing but also either way, that would be a because you are also limiting yourself, because you want to try and play avoid triple strategist, but you don't want to
a Gamma, Namor, and Human Torch look here from the side of FaZe. And Binary instantly proves me wrong. I really want to see Binary play more Hulk. I mean, there are a few joys in my life as pure Ryan as watching a pro-level Hulk player. They're just so good when it comes to the cooldown management. We'll have to see if it's going to be the pivot as we head over to Symbiotic Surface on Clinta. First, and Crisis is going to be matching tilt when it comes to Human Torch versus Human Torch, and we're going to see Invisible Woman on both sides as well to get that fantastic 14.
Yeah, Luna Snow as well, just idle auras to keep them topped up without really needing to look too much in the sky. Yeah, I've seen a lot of like Visible Women today, but now it seems to be the most ripe time. Everybody else groups up to just have this healing come in for the strategist to farm up these ultimates as quick as physically possible. But I do like this little dive that's coming from Alcatia. It's going to force FaZe to take their time as they try and go up the steps here, but nothing is really risked too much on this defense either.
Alright, this engagement here from Alcatia, the main downside here is that they have given over FaZe quite a bit of safety in this high ground. They're going to have to disengage. You can see that Kaya is going to be cooking with Valis here in the back, but Valis doesn't really have the HP to do this right now, so he needs to get healed so the Idolora can pop up the health bar of the Psylocke, who's going to be isolated into a 2 versus 1 attempt to try and shut it down from Crisis. In comes the bubble from the Magneto as FaZe safely extricate their assassin into a back line, but now with 2 ticks already given over to the side of FaZe. Alcatia on the dock here, on the timer when it comes to keeping this one contested. A Venn diagram of healing is erected by the respective strategists. Everyone's dragged them out of it once again by the strangling push of the groups. Noting where King Clona's hiding away. There's going to be still plenty of healing. It's the dance force. The fate of both worlds are going to be brought on to try and cut off that healing as well with the metallic curtain in towards the back. They need to try and force the reset here. Couldn't quite make their way down. Lindstrom still taken down by the Mad Cannon as Kai gives over additional healing and health to the remainder of Alcatia. Leolas take that one down, and Alcatia remains strong on point for now.
They were really dicing with it there. It felt like at a point that he was doing such a good job, like Palace especially. He gets caught off guard. There was a really nice barrier that came in from Magneto to just make sure that Palace wasn't picked off when they're on their own. But it felt like at a point Alcatia didn't have like the ultimates to turn the fight into their favor. It was more just that they delay things more than turn it around. But Tilt comes in with a perfectly timed ultimate, the Supernova. Unfortunately, however, he goes down before he can get anywhere close to having another.
Nasty mechanics from Binary. Kai going to be isolating. The same to be said for Milk Boys. So many walls are brought up behind them. Maluki able to strike back. Yes, but they don't really have the vault. It's fully contested. It's going to be down to Kaya. Maluki decided not to place herself within the invisible boundary for now, but Crisis Steelbox going to bring up their own here, and that means that the remainder of Alcatia has to move on forward to try and keep Kaya healed up. Rose continually drags up these walls, and Morphalis maybe making a fuss in the back here with their ultimate, and there's a torsion as well. They still haven't contested the point, and so the cart's moving right.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we saw a little bit on Central Park. Like, there's some issues there, right? Like, Ballas, if he wants to try and contest, if he's ulting, it doesn't count as being on the point. So it's brave for FaZe to finish off. But this is the problem, right? It's the decisions that are made after it and just how damaging. This can be for Alcatraz next fight.
Well, that's going to shut that down quickly. Raptor Stone strikes payday.
Very good. Katsia was delaying the inevitable for a little bit. Now the enemy shot. The ball is side, but an entangling prison for Rosa. It could be feast or famine. Whether that synergizes with the Magneto ultimate, that's a hell of a pull, but also the Kraken's impact.
Unbelievable wild and quick right there. Still going to be rescued here with the Meteor Realm absorbing a bunch of fire. But wait for those victims. Binary can't be saved in time. Just a little bit late on the trigger is Pinclone to try and save their Magneto. And now FaZe are going to be low on bulk. They're going to try and making this one work. Dunked down into the flame tornadoes. Rosa taken back into the midst of the enemy. And the tree has its roots thoroughly singed.
And it really is just piling on the pain for Kazuya, able to stabilize yet again. And there is only 2 minutes on the clock for FaZe to be able to push this one a little bit further on. You've got a lot sat in the bank for Alcatraz now, so you don't need to be too concerned with how this goes, but you also don't want to lose anyone else great. You don't.
Going to be next up on the docket. Of course, inside of the healing field is going to be fairly easy to try and survive. This coming through from the Meteor Realm. They want to try and take out Oasis. You can see the Guardian Shield was ready to go, as well from Metallic Curtain. The defensive onion around the Luna was formed well, and Tilt's been made to pay for an aggressive position. Kaya dragged in after being punched on up by the Trooper's fist. It's great combos of control here onto the usually evasive Captain America, and Crisis takes it upon himself to chase down the rascal. The Stallion is arrested, and that's going to be yet another pull coming through. Milkboy gets isolated. They can't make it around the walls in time, even with the fate of both worlds. What construction here by Rosa. 4 players dragged into the wall, gets it done again.
You've got the terrain getting in your way, but also one side, like Rosa's getting so much from the ultimates, but also the walls. They're perfectly kind of just isolate one person is trying to everything. Only so much that they can do. All play is required. It's pretty much the easy time for Alcatraz to go in. The super pull Alcatraz into it to try and contest it in.
When you consider the fragment behind him, Lindstrom tries to lock them all up to put on a show. Yes, on the table, clearly on a music continue on third.
Yeah, again, when things get a little bit more chaotic, songs that they're trying to play in symphonies turn into a little bit jazz. And I think FaZe just seem to be the ones that are better at playing it currently. It seems to be the 6 players all combining, writhing in the chaos. Katsuya have a lot to try and stabilize, and a pick is going to be the great way to start this.
Oh, it's a great way to start. That is next to the chance against the Kraken Impact, looking in towards the back line. He's going to be afflicted with that Calm debuff, but should have more than enough healing here to avoid offering a reset to bounce.
FaZe, just a backstep, not even a full disengage. They've got one foot in the door. And now Ballas switching over towards that with the soldier. If these hooks can connect, both teams will be very patient in their approach.
Ballas looking for Crisis to remember, if you get stuck with that tainted voltage, just a flyer, you do get grounded in the midst of all of this. It's going to be an invisible boundary drawn on up here by Alcatraz, and Milkboy floats above it with the Meteor Realm. Can't quite strike Painter here, and that's a long-range usage of the strangling prison. The walls come make it. Healing's not good enough. Tilt gets isolated. The healing the reset holding on out. Was that a scrambling through there? Oh, if that's ever on Simon, and the rewards are not going to be very thorough. Milky Way is also going to be staggered away from this as well.
Still pushing on through. I can see they were going to start that fight with the invisible bounty. Prison. Follow-up is always there, even through the fake of both worlds. Still enough to get those breakpoints just smashed through. It's here again, and Alcatia wants to be the one to strike the try the first goal, but I don't know if it's going to be the final one. Not when Rose has been finding so much value. He has been an absolute unit and kept everything in the green for FaZe.
Decimated. Crisis is a mechanical demon, whether it be on the hit scan or the Johnny Storm. My goodness, there's a reason why we've seen the Human Torch be permabanned through most of this tournament.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Oh man, looking at the draft again, for one, we're seeing like a lot of value out of Human Torch. We're starting to see why he's pretty much first or second banned almost consistently. But that Protect, I think, of the group seems to be suiting FaZe so well because Groot's such a strong character. FaZe are basically playing it non-mirrored, which is typically in these kind of tournaments when the bans are on both sides, the comps tend to just be mirrored throughout, because if the strong characters are available, you just go for them. But the fact that FaZe is playing the Groot and Rose is having such a good time with it, and Alcatia are not really prioritizing it as much, it just feels like so much value is being won off that alone, I think, on FaZe.
Yeah, just like... a lot of momentum to really support the supernova of Tilt on that.
Yeah, the British sport idiom for Alcatia, their biggest problem is the Sir Alex Ferguson like squeaky bum time. Like when it gets to those like last fights, last moments, Alcatia just lose all composure, and just some of the decisions that they make. Odd. It can't be the well-drilled stuff that we've been seeing consistently from them. It just feels like they're not quite on the same wavelength, which is weird because they're the team that has stayed together the longest out of these two.
Yeah, Alcatia, they're going to have to be working on that. But of course, they've got their own attack to deal with first. Rosa just goes for a quick disengage. And Rosa's walls so far have been absolutely brutal when it comes to trading in the strategist stealth economy. It feels like it's been so much more difficult for Lindstrom to get value out of a Fate of Both Worlds. Probably one of the strongest ultimates in the game because of those walls. I say it's right now, Crisis going to be forced to fly away. A hot drop into the back. Leolaz just doing their best to ward away Kaya.
He's just taking him head on straight away.
I'd win.
He's been brilliant today, Leolaz. I've seen him on so many like different characters. I mean, all of the duelists have been fairly flexible today, outside of some of the more like. Honestly, when you start in that first fight in Central Park in their defense, I'm a little bit concerned that Alcatia might really struggle to take this first point because FaZe, they're feeling themselves.
Yeah, sometimes you just enter that flow state, you know. It's very difficult to get past a team that's really thinking about every eventuality and really marking their contingencies.
And the Supernova now. Ready for tilt, but it is just more waiting for a goal for one. And the pull and then the wall to just make sure that this Magneto can't go anywhere. Even with the invisible boundary just placed right on top of him, it's not enough. It's going to be used on both sides to just try and keep themselves alive for the Supernova. And Alcatia finding picks, but they're all brought back to that kind of survival.
Oh, gotta be careful here not to lose out on the Meteor. It's going to be rewarded with some safety, but not with any frags on the other side. Alcatia now has the opportunity to move one less think about higher value if they can't convert on this fight, it might well be curtains for all of Civilized. audacity. And once again, we're going to have to be dealing with the wall. Disengage. That's going to be a huge strangling push. And as well, the cracking impact on top of it. Easy reset. As the numbers game has been somewhat transformed now. Of these invisible boundaries, Ballast finds himself taken from both sides as Binary slays them with a man cannon.
Portal now going to try and find a way back for Alcancia, but it's still, they're taking the first point, but it's been 3.5 minutes of action, and I don't think the FaZe are quite done with this one. As I say it, they are completely done with this one. They are disengaging completely, and Alcancia might be able to string some more momentum if they can catch FaZe with their backs turned.
All right, McBoy using the early meteor end here. This is the reward for having disengaged. Unfortunately, the just desserts that are served are more than thoroughly poisoned. The King's dinner will not be laying him to a good rest today. Ballast chased on down. Crisis feeling confident when it comes to this match as well. Actually, he's going to opt out of that one. Pops their team up and just disengages to get back to the remainder of their team.
This was good from Alcancia. It's a weird fight from FaZe. You could have said left it prematurely. They could have bought more time with how much was wasted on the first, but they were in that bit of limbo, and Alcancia sort of spotted that hesitation. Full sprint into the back line, and Ballast now moving over to Starlo for the first time to try and counter out the shots. Does have the Galactic Legend in hand. The Supernova's going to run away back. The clearance is about to happen.
Forces out the fate of both worlds in response to that. This is fairly good. Great. No stuns delivered here by Kaya. Must well have been blocked out, potentially forced away by something like a force physics coming through from one of the invisible women. Crisis for now just being given this additional shielding coming through from the invisible woman. Look at those still getting rid of the opposing Human Torch can be the primary concern of these players. A hot drop means that Tilt does not have much in the way of disengagement options, but you don't need them so much when Crisis has already gone down. A quick resurrection up on the high ground potentially, and so everyone else feeds over onto the cart to quickly get a bit of additional stall and then come back with the remainder of their team. All the healing that they need is going to be ready to move as Pinklow has themselves an invisible boundary to draw on fourth here. Talk going to be slowed as they disengage from it, yes, but it seems like the target focus is not going to be there to punish for Johnny Storm for such an audacious position. Binary takes to the skies and bounces it off the walls. LeBron is finally stuck in this. Rosa is so isolated, punches over to one two against the Vanguards, steals himself away from the remainder of the team, saying, remember me, you go, I stay. And the sacrifice is well rewarded. Maluki gets isolated. Down as Hevia, and run out of momentum.
Yeah, you stay, I go, no following this whole thing. And it was looking so good for Alcancia too. There was a moment where you're watching the fight, he's basically having to hug a wall because he's taken so much damage as the Torch himself in. And then they cut to Tilt, who is just flying right above FaZe, just shooting him pretty much from above, like William Dafoe Lighthouse meme style, just looking up, but nobody's responding to him. But still, FaZe are able to try and win that fight. It's still 10 seconds for Alcancia to try and fight this, and Supernova right at the portal forces him to go the other side.
All right, a pivot around to try and get that first touch. Ballast taken down already. FaZe a low. And Alcancia they're low on members. Kaya once again can't get anything off of the ultimate. Another push, another denial of the Eye of Agamotto. It stays closed for now. And as he reigns above it all, yeah, there's a Galactic Legend which is being told, but unfortunately it hasn't sold very well. This is no Plato Legend that we've got here. Instead, FaZe holds strong on Clinta.
It seems to be more of the same issues, I think, that came out from Central Park for Alcancia. It's like the obvious stuff, sure. Would I say that that was the thing that lost them this map? I don't know. Like, just that whole section of fighting, right? Is it the way they're approaching the fight? Is it the ways they're approaching the meta, right? That you let the group you don't really have much response to that. Something seems to be missing. And the problem is when you're like as high level as these guys clearly are, experience or Alcancia just looking good in places, you have to really dive into the board and watch things back multiple times to have an understanding of where it went wrong.
kind of disgusting from FaZe here. Huge amounts of damage coming out as well. Leolaz being able, I mean, played a bunch of the Bucky, but the pivot over to the Adam, I think, also allowed for a lot more audacious play when that Comic Revival was available.
And you've got like Kadzia taking out the Mantis, taking up the Ultron as the bands. It's still running into triple strategist, and whilst Adam Warlock was at the face of that, things have changed a lot with the rework, certainly with the team up with the other Guardians of the Galaxy. But you can't ignore the fact that it's still very good, especially with being able to revive people, and mostly does play staying alive afterwards too.
Yeah, and now this adds a new dynamic to the bands once again, where we've often seen Johnny kind of being a little bit of a laissez-faire approach. We sort of pivot into that early protect here, the first protect, in fact, from FaZe heading over onto the symbiotic surface. Now does it need to be the first ban for our fans? Here's the question, do they want to try and opt out of that matchup, given that it seems to be...
And now... I suppose, right? Like, domination is where we're headed back, so it seems that both these teams have, like, maps that they want to be on. Celestial Husk was really, really good for Alcatia. Despite the fact that I don't think that we saw the things that they looked amazing at Park in the first map, or even just in that game earlier against Virtus Pro. I wonder how this one's realistically going to go, because FaZe are going to be feeling confident that it wasn't just a one and done, that they took one map and then lost the rest of the series. They're showing a lot of promise, and I think Alcatia are probably looking a little bit more flustered than we might have expected.
Yeah, I think coming into this, Alcatia were like narrow favorites, like probably a 65-35 kind of split when it came to how we were predicting this. But map 4, this could be FaZe claiming a 3-1 victory. We'll have to see how it shakes out after this break.
Trapping all those fighting souls.
Back to your domain, Bella. The doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. A disappearing kit.
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up.
Dominations on the docket. In the first time since their IPO out years ago, FaZe stocks are up. Alcazia are on. Strats and approaches to try and get one over on FaZe.
Yeah, I wonder how much it's going to be trying to take out the Groot again. It was the map that Alcazia won that they actually did make sure that the Groot wasn't allowed to be played by Rosa, but the other two maps that they lost, it was not only available, but pretty much in the hands exclusively of Rosa and not in the hands of Alcazia, as they preferred to be on like Emma Frost, Captain America, something else entirely. But Domination, whether it's going to be enough of a priority for Alcazia to ban it out first, or whether FaZe would even consider protecting it quite early, I think that's going to be a key element. Naturally, you want to get the Torch out because it's Human Torch. He's always very good. And you know exactly that FaZe can play around it.
Yep, that had to be the pivot after Crisis did so well on the duel against Tilt up in the sky. Question here is, will we see Alcazia once again lean into the Jeff? And if so, does FaZe need to use a Jeff? Diving core.
The Emma Frost being protected might be like a response to the Groot, right? You sort of mentioned it earlier on in one of the other games of just having that ability to CC. And it used to be pretty much the job exclusively of Wolverine to try and take down a Groot, but that just hasn't really seemed to be trendy at the moment. But now that other Vanguards have been taken out, it's like FaZe are limited themselves here. You're not going to protect the Groot. I don't think it's going to be banned out at this point, but it probably does mean that we are going to see Kaya versus Rosa on the Groot versus Groot.
Luna going to be staying in. Protect here onto the top. Yeah, making sure that Jeff can stay in certainly is going to allow balance to be a little bit more side engaged. Which square up to a Captain America like
If was doing that, we would be waxing lyrical about it. So and you felt like it felt like, you know, players like Demon and stuff that we saw earlier, be the ones like Demon's doesn't, right? The character. But I think we have seen some of these, especially Vanguard constructed from places, a lot more flexibility from those flex players, really earning their keep on various rosters.
It better be real, Binary. I want to see the Binary Hulk. Well, here's Krakoa. The Hellfire Gala is underway. This is just for the portal at the beginning, considering that Crisis is currently sitting on the Namor.
Stand back.
Just going for something fast. Maybe does go out to the Hulk just for the quick run out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. We actually do get to see it in play. It's not going to be too far behind. I like the way that he just pop skip the animation, which just makes it even funnier.
Animation on Hulk transform, the new tech.
Can you imagine if that was a thing though? Like, good grief.
All right, already grabbed out here by the Emma. That's why I thought it was going to be played last time when the Emma was banned. Quick exile here onto the Venom to stop the dive onto the backline. Seems like Binary is going to be playing more of a protective Hulk here. And that's a nice berserk onto the Squid here for Quest. There's a lot alongside the back. And it's really good at shutting down as well, because even in that tiny fin form where usually your biggest event squinting.
It's just Ace going out for whatever just cheeky little keywords that they can get, and the fights things up. It's a great point to take because you get the point pretty much for free, and you're able to just change but most importantly, still very, very close to having that Horn of Proteus for Crisis, and plenty of areas to front out as Alpha Zero some of these chokes. That's why they're starting to split out. They don't all
on the Jeff as well, certainly. The fact broken through could be. Remember, damage boost here on the Horn of Proteus could be ruinous as well. Feeling very aggressive here. Crisis wants to corral everyone into this narrow zone. Seems like it's not going to be too much gained off the back of the Horn of Proteus. Huge amounts of control is levied onto Crisis. Going to have to be executed by Binary here with the Unbreakable Guard. That's going to be 3 instant mind controls, though. Great follow-up from Rosa inside of Invisible Boundary. Still getting pay dirt. Kicked into the wall. The melee supremacy of FaZe to be shown here.
I think that was the stuff that we saw from Binary's Hulk that was good on Celestial Hulk Husk, despite the fact that we didn't see too much of it. He's so good at just taking some of the strain, right? Crisis gets so low, he's forced to use his invulnerable, his ship. Binary's instantly in to peel for him, to take some of the heat to battle, and now he has his ultimate. He can go a little bit further if he wants. He'll have some of the backup and the force back with that Soul Resurgence, and hell, even Jeff can grab him and get him out of the fight if he needs to.
All right, Binary already stunned for now, taking a lot of the aggro. In the World Breaker Hulk form, Kyle looking for an incursion into the back line. It's going to be surrounded by both the Phoenix and the Jeff as Oasis tries to disengage as best they can. Burst heal delivered off the back of a Soul Resurgence, and that brings forth an Amor once again as Binary is simply mind controlled by the Emma. But Alcazia still don't have the presence on the point. Ballas tried to keep a touch on there, but it's not going to be rewarded, and that's going to be no one's on the point. Oh, they have the fate of both the worlds. This is ruinous.
It's like in moments like that, right, where it's like, okay, this is looking really good for FaZe. Alcazia is plenty to be working on and stuff when you watch this one back, but nothing that's really bad. It's like a major and a minor on a driving test, like a lot of minors, but no majors, and then a major happens by people not getting on the point. And like that's got to be frustrating because you try to work out the answer and then you just make things worse for yourself in the end. It means a FaZe pretty much 100% to 0 on that first point, and Alcazia on the rocks.
My doctor's convinced me to invite you to the gala.
It is certainly looking a little bit rough right now. The Sirens have attempted to beach this ship, and they dash themselves upon their dastardly rocks. Can Alcazia rock my world by turning things around with an end song here from Ballas?
But to kill himself straight away. That's one of the things that I'm always curious about with teams of like, if you have these ultimates and you're like, what ultimates do we have? What ultimates do they have? Like, what kind of tempo can you play? What's a fast tempo with ultimates that you can play at? Both teams going for the portal. I mean, an end song as soon as I think on the side of Alcazia would be good once you work out that they're all grouped up.
Like you already know, the approach here of Crisis, forcing out that blessing of the beat, which is going to make them vulnerable to a dive later on. If only someone's brave enough to try and make it happen. The invisible boundary good to go. Maluki's just going to have to erect it around the remainder of the team, and it keeps Kaya safe while they are just seduced by Emma for now. Binary playing around the outside. Indestructible Guard is used for a little bit of additional sustainability, and Crisis ready to move on in with the Horn of Proteus. Sees the strategist, but instead crushes Ballast underfoot. A pair of squids are sent on out. A berserk onto him with a right click could be everything, as the Guardian shield is going to be taken on down. But still, FaZe have been the first ones to grab control here. Tilt is taken out of range by some joyful splashing, but there's no joy to be found. It's a quick reset as Alcadzia proclaim gravity to their mistress.
We were saying about Ballast having the Ensorn still in hand. Only another ultimate to be used in this engagement. I mean, the stress is going to be piling up at this rate. Binary is holding. I can see why you were excited to see it. A chunk of damage just from the left click fire from Ballast, but no ultimate charge to be found. Gives a little bit more to the strategist though for FaZe.
Alright, Milk Boy. Question is, how do you invest it? Binary are trying to bait out the initial grab here from Milk Boy. Instead, they're just going to be erecting a shield for the remainder of the team. Can't quite connect with the Carbon Crush, and that overextends Milk Boy. He's going to be able to bring the shield back up now after cancelling the Diamond Form, but it seems like Alcadzia can't really erode this space away. Ballast is already under so much pressure, but Luki so close, can't be healed on up, courtesy of the Lunar Snow, and so everyone else is going to have to be dragged on forth. They need to do it under man. 5 versus 5 as the numbers shake out. Oasis still going to give away a huge amount of space, and Ballast once more over for Koa, and you've just installed Minecraft for the first time, and you're breaking down a tree with your raw fist.
It's just back to caveman, back to monkey. In FaZe, it's Alcadzia have not had an in at all. They've had nothing that's really gone well for them, and they've put pressure on the point at all. It's 86%. They've been unable to take anything on Krakoa so far, and Binary is just waiting for that chance to really show his limits, I think, on this hole.
Oh, they are close to the edge. This could be ruinous if Binary can get some knockoffs off the back of a World Breaker. Hulk instead is going to opt into just jumping into the invisible boundary here. Wants to get involved in this. Unable to really put the Unbreakable Guard. Oh, can't ult in time because of a suppression there from the Emma Frost. Great play from Milkboy to shut that one down, but Oasis and Crisis still move as a duo, and they're dangerous still on the outset for now. Kaya potentially overwhelmed. Oasis bounced around again and again due to the joyful splashes. Just an annoying menace. Recovery of the whole form and quickness of the World Breaker for Binary. Everyone's getting thrown to and fro. Sundered is the armor as everyone just faces the fists of the Hulk. And still on this angle. A surprising one here. Crisis is going to have such a good view over the remainder of the point. Still, Balance almost has the Horn of Proteus. Needs just a couple of percentage points more and is able to grab it. Can they get themselves a second? Wants to try and take down the Lunar Snow. It's now or never for Alcadzia. Or their run in the lower bracket, and MRC is over. And Binary's looking to finish it here and now. Kaya's taken down Oasis, but you can't stand up to the furious fists of Hulk.
Oh, they get it.
Have both fallen, exiled for a moment. Alcadzia get the cap.
It took everything that they had, but I think the most notable thing I wanted to highlight, when we were watching Oasis on the Mantis, they were just running around pretty much where the Namor is here, from side to side. Oh, he accidentally goes through the portal. It's going to be used to play for Alcadzia to try and keep falling maybe into a bit of a problem here. FaZe have actually hot-stepped their way to a very fast-paced attack, and FaZe might be able to steal this one back from Alcadzia for free.
Descending the stairs though keeps them away from the sonic seduction of the Emma, but Kai's just doing so much damage here to Pinkclone. Can't stand up to this, even inside of the invisible boundary. Oasis next up on the docket. Kai's just pumping out DPS here. ultimate, and honestly, it's a great use of it here. Alcantara holds strong.
And FaZe only gets a couple of things to use, though, still having 3 ultimates to work with. Especially now, Alcantara are going to be expecting that its Jeff is ready. They do have the Aya Agamotto to try and bring out some fights if everybody's grouped up, but you're trying to play as split as possible. You've got Binary as well. It's just so irritating, right? He's just jumping in and around, making it so chaotic for Alcantara to just get some comfort.
Okay, Price on the off angle. 1 stun here. It's onto Pinklow. The best possible stun, but still Crisis overwhelms the Jeff. Oh, the double dinks! He's so nasty. He's such a bully when it comes to the mechanics. And Leolaz is going to slap to Vanguard.
Something in the middle of the game for Alcantara was just not connecting there.
I mean, like, Oasis was just on permanent Crisis pocket duty, which is kind of ironic considering that Crisis Healbot was having to heal everybody else.
Yeah.
Pinklow on the Luna just taking care of the Hulk, but damage boosted Gana Namor, it's gotta be a crime. Like, there's gotta be a law against it somewhere. It's disgusting. And I wonder if FaZe feel shame, to be honest. I'd like to think so.
It's got to be respected a lot more, I think, ultimately. We saw it earlier, like in the first few games, we haven't seen that much Hulk play because he was not first banned out a lot of the time, but like 3rd or 5th banned out, usually to sort of cap out the draft. Because if you're looking to take out Psylocke or Human Torch or Jean Grey in some instances, you let that team up come through with the Namor. It just makes Namor pretty much the same tier as some of those other duelist options. And then Hulk is also very good with so many Vanguards hit in the draft too. Maybe that's just one of the instances of Alcantara is just they made the draft a little bit too easy in the end for FaZe to really get the most out of it.
Yeah, Namor was also like very valuable as a character against what previously. EMEA. It might be a little bit extended as we wait for the matches to start happening, as the teams are going to be able to get into the lobby. So please be patient with us. We'll be back with the next top tier action at MRC EMEA right after this.
Remember the dusk, the lights gripping tightly. trapping all those fighting souls. But yet, across the world, I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder across all time, I see you turning the tides. And do you see now our time, our turn? We can still fight like the winds and fire. Wonder no more that now is the only time your heart is mine. Light has fallen, darkness grows, and yes, we fight for our destiny and fate. New days smiling for the past and future. Break those chains, lead the way, fight with me. And when you wake up, avenge your rise, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters again, we are rebels till the end. Rise up, avenge your minds, hold on to your powers, no one can stop us. We are rebels. Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are set now for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come find me. Do trapping all those fighting souls. But yet, across the world, I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are standing up for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come find me. Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are standing up for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way.
cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will
Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure.
Old Eddie?
Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will rule.
The doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure.
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom!
The other guy's been doing a lot of talking for me. You remember old Eddie?
Welcome back, heroes and villains. Thank you so much for your patience. We've got one series left for you today here at MRCEMEA, and we've got ourselves a winners finals, Ryan, between Virtus Pro and Choppity.
Yeah, it's a great chance, I suppose, to see at least one of these teams is going to be making a grand final. We'll be seeing both tomorrow because the losers bracket final would be tomorrow as well. But it is the case of like Virtus Pro looking dominant, expected to be the winners here because they're expected to be the winners pretty much anywhere, maybe up until previous tournaments. But because we are missing those teams that went to the mid-season finals that went to China, it pretty much is a third place finish, and that's what Virtus Pro were able to get last time. This Chop team, though, has turned some heads. The only two teams in this round roster, maybe a win against Virtus Pro.
Yeah, win against the world champions. Step back and maybe we'll repl not win here as they go to their next spot in the 80s and get one over on. They have some issues up against Zabs on their way here. So if you want business lost them, on their path.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Chop as a team is like perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There's still a lot that they're trying to work out. Honestly, it is like, this is the kind of team that could catch Virtus Pro off guard if they're not careful. And also, it's the fact that it is just these like myriad pick bands too means that Virtus Pro should have the advantage because they're very good at trying to direction. I just think Chop are good enough as a team to not let that happen.
Yeah, maybe Chop get one by here. Interesting that both of these teams actually like to first ban Loki. So Choppity kind of doing a favor here to Virtus Pro and maybe freeing up a ban slot. Because Virtus Pro are quite used to first banning Loki out, and instead they're just going to get rid of a Captain America, which honestly is a very smart ban going up against Beetle.
And I mean, that's one of the things too for like the Vanguard line for Virtus Pro is that they're so flexible. It's not that they can't play Captain America, I just don't think it's high on their priority list. But getting the over onto the Phoenix, even like stuff like Torch and stuff is still readily available. It just solidifies a character that can really pivot to whatever comps Virtus Pro wants to play.
Yeah, Torch still being available. He's going to be protected. Ultron. Interesting to get rid of the Ultron.
Yeah.
So maybe they are going to do that Phoenix Human Torch split.
Yeah, I feel like because they have both those options, they would move away from the strategy, which is what was so successful for them. It almost feels a chopping their arm off a little bit by picking up the option because it's so useful to play kitting. You're just so good at these fights. It's in their favor. But the fact that Ultron and Mantis have been banned out, the triple strategist is still on the cards, it always has to be, but you're taking out some of those big hitters.
Yeah, still going to have Luna and the Cloak and Dagger available, as well as this moment, which I've been getting quite a bit of use of over the last couple of games that we've been watching. Last ban now. Once again, it is going to be a protect of the Psylocke up against Virtus Pro, and this is arguably Sparker's best hero. And I think that the Namor is a smart ban here, given that there's always the capacity for a pivot onto that Gamma Namor. Yeah, sure, but like I think it's also like the Hulk is something that we know Nevix can play pretty effectively, and the Vanguards have been
moderately untouched for, yeah, you've got Cap out, you've got Venom out, but like Magneto is still available for both sides. You can still run that Vanguard lineup. Maybe if you take out the whole queue, avoid that. And there's still so many good duelists on the board that I think a Namor, when you have a Torch and a Jean Grey available, yeah, and a Psylocke, probably down the list. But this is a big one for Virtus Pro. It's a real case of how good they're going to be. But Chopped, looking to do some damage as we go to Symbiotic Service.
Getting rid of the more mobile Vanguard here for the side, well, for both teams, both Captain America and Venom off the table. Doesn't look Virtus Pro have kind of crafted a very front-to-back approach here. It's going to be all about the overall macro management of fights. Tooz is going to be constantly noted on the off-angle. Fire's already put him on notice, going to force him to grab a little bit of additional healing, but Fire having used their hot drop does mean they're now in a little bit more vulnerable position. Pop their team up for a little bit of extra sustainability, but DRP on this angle is going to be a nightmare to try and deal with.
Is how much that these torches can realistically get away from. We saw it in some of the games earlier of just some of them being bunkered into a corner, having to just hug the wall to avoid this damage coming in. But Thai is confident enough to not only be out in the open, but try and find some fights, really pester off Toozy that's trying to find an opening. Virtus Pro making sure that there's no little gaps that can cut through, but this invisible woman from MASH already has that boundary. Where it gets placed is going to be really important. The fact that Sparker has used that end song, though, no eliminations off the back of it. Now you can maybe put your line in the sand.
It feels like Tooz has been well and truly caged and contained over the course of this fight so far. A lot of Fire's attention is going that way because Crazy Kitty's been essentially penned in by Sparker the entire time. These will catching some sparks as well, and it feels like this slow, methodical style is not quite what Choppity wants to be playing with both the Venom and the Cap off the table. They're just slowly walking into Virtus Pro, who have great game plans for most eventualities. Speaking of eventualities, the eventual burning of the forest here from the side of Crazy Kitty as they pop the supernova. Vinci keeps that one at bay for a moment, using the Sonic Seduction, but this is going to force a quick disengage from Virtus Pro. They're going to wait for most of this ultimate to be able before Druidra rolls forward down. There's going to be a significant advantage here when it comes to the overall longevity of the ultimate. Seems like Druidra managed to survive the incoming danger of the Meteor M as well. Everyone piles back inside of the invisible boundary as they're erected next to each other. Mash seen downtown when it comes to the connections as Sparker reigns above it all. A quick freeze to put Crazy Kitty's Kelvin count down to 0, and Virtus Pro holds strong.
It was just a quick maths for Nevix to know what are my chances of actually doing lethal damage off the back of Meteor M. I could do this, and I just need to make sure that I hit them head on. I do exactly that. Like, it's knowing where to take these fights, and even just the pressure of holding on to the Meteor M whilst you've got invisible boundaries up. The anticipation was too much for Chop to deal with. They go out into the open, and there's a nice follow-up there. But these fights going on long, we saw it a lot from Sparker's perspective. He is happy to just sit back if he needs to, where Dredro is currently. But now, there's only less than a minute on the clock. This might be Virtus Pro trying to put their boot down on the neck of Choppity.
Only a little bit of time remains, and only a tick to their name thus far. Crazy Kitty has found the squishy underbelly of Virtus Pro, but it seems like Dredro is more than happy to try and duel his way out of this one. Quick bit of a vortex to drag them on in. DRP finds himself isolated and without a heal, and Beetle's next up on the docket. Vinci rolls on through. What a grab there onto Crazy Kitty. The Carbon Crush kicks them into the box, and Toozy never stood a chance against the engrossing forward momentum of Virtus.pro.
Really forces Chop to go in for a portal play. Virtus.pro know at this point there's no other options on their card. You can see them just about to pretty much pivot whenever they can do. Invisible Boundary, Fate Both Worlds. I mean, if you place the end song right on this doorway, it's going to be tough. Invisible Boundary is going to be used from Mash to just allow them a room in. There comes the end song, able to catch two of the strategists as well. Sparker's had so many of these big Phoenix ultimates come through, they might just put the lid on this one.
Yeah, it was a perfectly timed damage boost there from Drudre. 40% more damage off the end song Infirmament. Both of those squishy characters were instantly evaporated from existence. And so much has been gained here. And honestly, this is exactly the game that Virtus.pro wanted to play. They didn't want to worry about the flanks with a Captain America and a Venom that have before been a real thorn in the plans of Virtus.pro. They just want to sit on the point in their lawn chair, you know, with a shotgun in their lap and wait for Choppity to slowly roll up with the Mag and Emma.
I felt like 2Z couldn't really do much at all. Like, he was pretty much shut out of that one entirely. Not that it's always his job to find the picks and find the eliminations, but when you have the Jean Grey and the Torch, and it's just, you're unable to find any opening to pull yourself any more progression on the point, it's a little bit alarming. I think that's just Virtus.pro knowing exactly, like, they want to have these comps, they want the broken heroes in the server, in the game, because they just know that they're better with them.
Get ready.
It's that kind of confidence that really can make a duelist player. We saw two doing it earlier. Making these audacious plays, these incredibly dangerous plays that are high risk but high reward at the same time. Virtus.pro, I wonder if they will also once again just go for a slow roll up here. It feels like we never saw Choppity go for a full rotation around high ground where they're now holding. Maybe that would have served them well, to be honest.
Yeah, it sort of felt that they just were trying to find a way through the front door. And there wasn't enough pressure even then to allow 2Z like a bit of a gap. But it's not as if Choppity are playing for a draw at best. They did get a decent amount of progression on the actual objective, but holding on for 4 minutes to 44%, all for naught maybe.
Alright, it's going to be Virtus.pro with the full rotation that we were hoping to see from Choppity already. Going to start forcing them off of this high ground as they're drawn on in by a force physics from an invisible woman. You can see that Fly's making the crossing here, and thus far it's not really caught that much poke. Has been gifted the idle aura from the sustainability coming in close to DRP. It's quite the brave maneuver, but it seems that discretion is going to be the better part of valor for both of these players for now. There's only a little bit of percentage healing to be given away for now. Fly going to be able to pop their team up to get a little bit of additional sustainability, trying their best to survive the assault that Crazy Kitty brought forward. A Pyro Prison being burning this entire time to help the build up towards the Supernova as well. It's going to be a first strike coming through from the side of Choppity. Sparker ready to descend with the Phoenix's end song as Vito has found himself Nevix, and down on one. Vito was cut off from the healing. They couldn't see how low their Vanguard was because of the invisible boundary, and now it's going to be Fincy that would potentially roll over all of this. Yeah, they're going to be faced with something like a fate of both worlds, but it seems like there's going to be plenty of hunting on the outside. Spark has got Vertigo dead in their sights. Two duelists move in onto this, raining above it all. No one's even touching Ryan for Choppity. It's well and truly chopped. Virtus.pro start off strong.
And the first pick at the start of that final fight went the way of Chops. They were able to actually take out one of the backline, but in a 5 versus 6, it was a key pickup from Nevix. Just Emma Frost, it was a protected choice from them in the end. You could see why, because it's just, in those instances, you can output a ton of damage. And yeah, it's Virtus.pro kind of continuing on with the form that we almost expect from them. We expect a lot. That pressure is high just from how much they were able to do. And one elimination total.
Yeah, Nevix feeding, unfortunately. You hate to see it.
Yeah. What is he doing?
In a modern game. One elimination.
Like, sometimes in domination maps on a round, you see just like one elimination or 0 eliminations, but one elimination in 8 minutes, pretty much, or 6 minutes. Something went wrong there.
One of the telling things here as well is that 2Z 2Z only has a little bit more damage done than taken. Every single time 2Z tried to take the angle, we saw 5 right on top of them with the Guardian Shield, with the Sue Storm team up, having so much sustainability, having the Idol Aura as well. There was just always this pressure on 2Z to make sure that that angle could not be leveraged as like a crowbar to try and put some force in to break open this point. Instead, it always had to be just headbutting each other. Vanguards on Vanguards.
I think one of the things to look back at for just any coaches or anybody that wants to learn more, probably the positioning on that defense for Virtus Pro, because I think the way that they were set up was almost intentional to just make sure that if any dive came in, there was enough heal, there was enough support, and they had so many people on the point just free and open to take damage. It felt almost like a trap to just put somebody on the point for Virtus Pro. Chop do a lot of damage to them. They end up trying to just heal them through as much as they possibly can. And then you've just got the strategist ultimates available consistently. And no eliminations are coming through. There's no breakpoints being broken at all. It just felt like Chop didn't have enough, and Virtus Pro had a set plan, and it functioned perfectly.
Well, I got a set plan right to go to map 2, but you have to wait for it to last.
Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has folly and shadows looming, and yes, that's what I'm missing you out. The hours that my words bring you near, time to fight me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Before the rift returns again, we are rebels till the end. Rise and open your mind. Hold on to your powers now. I can't stop us. We are rivals till the end. No matter where, we will fight, reaching across time and space. 'Cause you are my destiny to the end.
Hello.
Greetings.
You cannot hurt me. I was merciful. Crawl back to your domain, Hela.
In this timeline, the machines will rule.
Embrace, the doctor has conjured a portal. Ultron is like a plague. We must be the cure. You are under my spell.
We are done chasing spiders. We have bigger enemies to conquer. You're ours now. Time to toughen up. We are Venom!
The other guy's been doing a lot of talking for me. You remember old Eddie?
Welcome back, heroes and villains. We are here in the winners finals of MRC EMEA. Currently, Virtus.pro are up 1-0 as we head over to our next map, Ryan, Central Park.
Yep, it's I believe it is still the choice for like the loser on the map and side and stuff similar to Ignite. We just don't have the issue, I suppose, where you can only play a certain game mode and then you play for all of the game modes and then you can pick whichever ones you want again. So we can see a potential like spam, I suppose, of convergence maps, or like a lot of teams against Virtus.pro looking to try and take them to domination just to cause a little bit more chaos and find more in-the-moment gaps against Virtus.pro, because honestly, there hasn't been that much to exploit when it comes to the meta and stuff against them. It is just more like in-the-moment decision-making that can cost them a fortune if they're not careful.
Yeah, I'd love to see some movement here towards a Cap or a Venom Protect on the side of Choppity to allow Beetle to start leveraging some much faster gameplay, try and play around some off angles here, and stop the front to back the Virtus.pro really want to play. They're old heads, you know. They like firing at vanguards and using their strategist ultimates in the most min-maxy ways. They're great at disengaging when you try and use a strategist ultimate to engage, and they're good at using their ultimates offensively to try and punish positioning as well. We saw in the previous Symbiotic Surface that Milk Boy got picked off on the Emma from what should be a relatively safe position by being forced inside of the invisible boundary of Saipei, meaning that their strategist had no idea where their health bar was at the time, and they couldn't deliver reliable healing either.
Yeah, I mean, because of the experience that this team of Virtus.pro has in just not only Marvel Rivals, because they've played in closed beta tournaments and been winning ever since, but also in other hero shooters for a good amount of time. Like, you're looking at almost a decade for some of these players, potentially. They know when to fight for the objective, on the objective, and when to fight past the objective. And knowing what to do in those given instances. In the early days, everyone would just bring themselves onto a point, right there. But now people are better, get past it, try and get backline, try and dive, taking some of the philosophical elements from other teams and other variations. Virtus.pro wrote the book. They don't need to study it. They have that experience themselves, that they know how these kind of philosophies come together. So when Marvel Rivals comes out, they can essentially write the book on it too.
Yeah, like, coming in with all that expertise definitely served them well in the early game, but it feels like we're currently going into, like, our second generation of pros, really. Or, like, maybe this is, like, generation 1.5 of pro Marvel Rivals at the moment. We're starting to get players who we didn't know before this game came out start to get towards the more, like, Fate on Team Rad, now Team 1, current world champion. We didn't really know much about Fate prior to Marvel Rivals. Didn't really play any other games at the top level. Was a good player in other hero shooters, but never really hit the pro scene. And we really started to respect
Yeah, I mean, it's also check, I think, just looking for the tournament with other games going on at Tournament 2. It feels like the teams that are trying to keep up here are, yeah, they've got like a zombie and stuff. They've been forfeiting, cars, involved with their stuff. Yeah, always the bride, never the bride and stuff. And you've also got the teams that are working in space, and with the where they are currently and what they need to focus on for that last stretch.
Yeah, when he just found out recently that Sirius Tenacity is X, like, star DPS slash primary interviewee, Canuton will be playing for X Oblivione instead. X Oblivione, I believe, lost out on Etsu, who used to be on OG.
He went to NA, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to NA. I can't remember what team he ended up on over there. Wait, maybe on the Rad. Maybe
it's
on the
new Rad.
roster.
Yeah. It's the NA Rad.
It's on new Rad. It's a little bit wacky and wild over there. It's well and truly after mid-season finals being a crazy roster mania heading into Ignite over the course of this. But MRC is also going to be a flashpoint. Like a meta we haven't really seen that much in pro play either, because mid-season finals was on the season 3.0 patch before Blade came out, and there were a couple of things that changed in this game as well. For example, the introduction of the Mantis and Groot team up. We've seen a lot more Groot in the contemporary game now that Mantis is seeing a lot more usage as well, because she got the Anchor team up buff as well. And we might not see this meta continue to be mirrored with all of the balance changes that are coming in season 4 as well.
And just knowing the teams that you're playing up against, right? It maybe up until now, it's like, okay, Psylocke is such a good character and there's so many good duelists on it that you just want to hope for the best and match up in that direction. But now when you know that, like, okay, they have a really good Punisher, if you're looking at playing up against Crisis, for example, do you want to try to ban that out or ban something out and Protect? Like, what is the priority for you to get on the board and what for you to get off the table for your opponent? And I mean, that's what's been really cool about the Ignite draft. But I understand, like, for tournaments like this and also the qualifiers, having it in a lot more simple fashion feels like it's more fair, because it is just a case of who is the better team on paper when they're given the same tools, as opposed to relying too much on the strategic side, which can burn teams. It certainly did that against Virtus Pro, I think, in Ignite.
I think you're accurate there. I think Virtus Pro definitely didn't live up to their overall potential with the new ban system in Ignite. It felt like they got they got pro gamer moved a couple of times, like when Rad just got one over on them by banning like 4 strategists in a row. Like, what do we do now? We didn't see this one coming. I guess we'll play, I don't know, Mantis and Adam and Rocket.
Yeah,
that's fine, maybe.
But before as well, it was like teams didn't know how to make that work because you were never put into that situation. Now players are a lot more flexible and they know that they can be stuck on some awkward heroes, so they have to be competent on them, otherwise they're screwing it over for their team. You have to be able to deal with the hand that you get dealt with.
Yeah, you can't be a player with like a hero pool of like 2 or 3 where you can get banned out fairly easily. We saw a couple players of that in our previous games become victims, especially in the Vanguard role, because it's such a
good enough to quantify the actual choice, that's it. But I think it's only a matter of time before we actually start seeing Blade and maybe a couple of buffs, who knows?
For a battle, when you load the muskets, Virtus Pro are generally going to win those engagements.
Yeah, it's for the Vanguard line as well too. I think it might scare Volko enough to ban out the whole. It does feel yet again character that Nevik has a very more player. Whether now I've not seen for a very, very long Prison's going to be available, and Crazy Kitty like to be thrown out of spawn by the Cosmic Fastball, and then we'll see DRP likely pivot onto something else. But Virtus Pro, if they do have troubles with this Wolverine, we know that Nevix is quite a thing head, does love a good clobbering. Maybe that's why they protected the Magneto. It's sort of said it before as well when they played LPC of just making sure, well, Finzi might actually go down because he gets caught out Crazy Kitty leaping through the sky. So that frontline Vanguard might be missing for Virtus Pro, and they're dropping like flies like they.
Damn, where'd VP go? I said they had trouble with the Wolverine before, and indeed that still seems to be the case. It supplies Cosmic Fastball into the elongated channel. Oh, Finzi. They're waiting for that Doctor Strange to come on through so they can instantly grab him. Nevix is reporting that the Wolverine is indeed waiting there, and the second that Finzi comes on through, yep, that is going to be Crazy Kitty being an angry little Wolverine and carving through the Vanguard line.
He's been pretty much on Ultron duty all day, got a bit of torch action on the last map, but that's, I think, what the first elimination actually playing a duelist that he's managed today needed, though. Virtus Pro, I said before, like, Finzi, just allowing him to get the Magneto means that you can have Nevix pivot to all of these other different Vanguards just to be able to dive on people like he is with Venom, or just like falling on the group. Now that there's that verticality, the Venom is a lot more serious. Cypher's taking a bit of a beating, regeneration domain forced out, and he does have the God of Mischief, but he's holding out as long as he can before it's needed.
Okay, sticking it onto Sci-Fi, also managing to give over that idle aura to their co-strategist to make sure that as they focus forward, they don't lose anyone in the back. Tuzi with a great cut here, might be able to try and take down this ultimate. You can see they're trying to combine with VRP, get those damages together. They move in onto the Luna, combined powers decimate Sci-Fi, but Dredro's still going to be around thereafter to follow this one up. Oh, Fido, too high up in the air to be healed effectively, and it seems like Virtus Pro, they've been absolutely shell-shocked by this assault.
It's just mechanic stiffed. I think that ultimate was pixel perfect from Tuzi, and you could sort of tell as soon as that end song came out, Virtus Pro's positioning, Tuzi wasn't sure exactly how he wanted to approach it. He knew that as soon as he went to dive in, that at least the Luna would try to get out of dodge, but he gets such a perfect position and able to string more on to the sky. At least finding one, but the supernova and tornado from right onto the looking to get just off the ground with the lava. It's a perfect hit onto Vertigo from downtown. What a mid-air hit there with the flame clusters, but still the meat of Nevix and of Vinci in tandem should be enough to stand up to these duelists for now and then clap back on them when it's most necessary. Virtus Pro should have been able to clutch this one out, and indeed they have. They heard me say that there was a mechanics diff for chopped with that engagement before, and they all just hit some nasty shots in various ways and with the projectiles. Good grief, Virtus Pro holding on in a way that no other team I don't think would be able to. Finzi was the main hero, but Sparker's just so good to springboard off of this. He set himself up nicely.
Players up on the high ground here. Oh, they're moving as a 6, and they're instantly assaulted by the Venom. That's going to be a big cellular corrosion that needs to be punished. Oh, there's so much damage. And Sparkus right in the middle of all of that, making sure that Vertigo cannot survive the onslaught. Troubly still have 2 minutes barely left. So if they take that one essentially as a dry fight.
Now a reset. Shot. Maybe even could, not talking about it now, but in the back of their minds thinking, like, how are we still on this second point? We just had such a good time bank and it looked like we were able to take it. So how do we approach this now? You've got some good stuff to find openings, but an invisible boundary to fate both worlds is sat in play for Virtus Pro. They're just gonna back off as much as they possibly can. They're gonna expect some of these big hits to come through, but if I and Sparker keep finding these picks, it just keeps resetting these chances for Chopped and the time's running out.
In comes the trade out. Crazy Kitty giving the moment to try and get a little bit closer over towards the back. Fire can be shut down here. You can see many of the flame tornadoes getting sucked on up here by the Meteor MF&C. But now it's once again free-flowing. Fire takes damage to the tail, cooked there by the flame tornadoes. And Crazy Kitty's going to be able to roll on forward. Big pyro prison generated. And Sparker is placed within it by the hot shot given over by Crazy Kitty. Beetle reigns above them all. All of the damage going the way of Trigger just cuts through the fate of both worlds. And Saipe's ultimate is too far back to be of any real use for contesting here. You can see the Venom emerges from it as Fire comes through from a portal. The pentagram of Corrallo's been found. Tuzi runs down. Cyber Vertigo's been traded out elsewhere. But there's no real healing here for Virtus Pro. They're running on borrowed time. And that time's been extended for DRP. You get additional HP off the back of the big eat of the Feast of the Abyss. Tuzi gets up close and personal.
How is the fighting?
Cellular corrosion. And, well, Nevix just can't stand up to that. Dredra gets raised, but to what avail? Virtus Pro find their second point defense destroyed.
Oh, it took everything now. And to be patting themselves off on the back, despite the fact that they're back in their own spawn for the time being, because so much of that time, certainly the time that they lost very early on from that first point, they seem to have balanced the books a little bit more. You see just how much damage Vince's taking. He's not afraid, though. He's trying to make sure that Saipe and Dredra can build up some of those strategist ultimates. And certainly would be expected to use it now.
He's made to pay for it by Spark. Look at how little HP Dredra has. Doesn't really have much option here for the side of self-defense. DRP has found them as well in the back. If Dredra gets staggered here, it could be over, but it seems like they've been able to link up with Saipe and punish DRP for such an audacious dive.
There has been a couple of these moments where DRP has just died alone. There's not really much follow-up. You don't have that much synergy to dive on a target with DRP, but it's mostly that Chops look like they're getting momentum, and then DRP goes down, and suddenly Virtus Pro have provided an opportunity to swing things back. Now with these ultimates that they've built up, you've got Supernova available for Fi. Waiting for that dive. You saw DRP just fly across your screen. The thing is, if he needs to get out, what on earth does he do?
Inhospitable staircase right here. Definitely not health and safety approved. Fi making sure that all the damage is being done where it's needed. Nevix hangs out within the flame tornadoes. Mash is found in the midst of all of this. Going in onto Vertigo in the back. They need to try and take out the strategist. And indeed, Virtus Pro to make sure, but now Choppity are playing on borrowed time. And Fi is calling to collect on the debts for the road. DRP once more seen in the back. Has their disengage scuppered by a well-placed knockback. And even with the symbiotic resilience, all they can do is earn more ult charge.
It feels like the same of symbiotic surface on that first defense for Virtus Pro. Look at the positioning, the way that they're lined up. It seems to be a common trend, like little crossfires, making sure that there's line of sight. But Fi, if he's under any pressure, he can get to the strategists. If the strategists get dove on, he can dive onto them.
Push from Choppity is going to be quite the toothless one. Yeah, Mash has a little bit of additional sustainability, but I believe got pushed out of it by Sparker and then dunked upon by the Phoenix itself. Surely a portal will open up soon, but it doesn't seem like anyone from Choppity is actually swapped on over. Crazy Kitty and Tuzi, neither of them wanted to be responsible for the reportaling, and so no one gets the additional touch, and they're held on the stairs.
Some good progression made in the end from Chopped. But that second point hold for Virtus Pro even though they eventually lose it, it did so much to make sure that this third point was a little bit more neutral. Every sort of meter, every inch is going to matter quite a lot. But it's not as if Chopped were able to finish up the map and Virtus.pro have to try to halt it going again. But it's such a good showing. And the fact, you know, this would never be allowed in Ignite to have both the Jean Grey and the Human Torch, and then the Luna, and then the Magneto. That something's got to give. But despite that fact, we keep saying that Virtus.pro are like the pound-for-pound better team. I think Chopped are not that far behind, frankly.
First point Central Park takes we have seen across all of competitive Marvel Rivals, honestly. And Virtus.pro, they're going to have to match that pace here if they want a chance to try and get through second in good time.
Even if Chopped had like a good set play to try and take that point quickly, Virtus.pro are going to feel like there was a mistake somewhere. Trying to go for a similar play now in the defense of Chopped. Crazy Kitty just putting down Fire Priest.